Hey everyone, welcome back to Social Security Post. There's a wave of confusion online about the newly announced stimulus checks worth up to $2,000. Some people say it's already approved. Others claim it's coming next week. But tonight, I'll break down the real truth, straight from the White House and the Treasury Department. We'll go over what the president actually said, what the White House press secretary confirmed, and how the government's plan to use tariff revenues could eventually turn into direct payments to Americans. So before you scroll past this thinking it's just another rumor, stay with me for the next few minutes. This might be the clearest explanation you'll hear yet. And if you care about real Social Security and stimulus updates, not clickbait, please like this video and subscribe to Social Security Post, where facts matter more than hype. In a recent interview, the president mentioned the idea of giving Americans a dividend or distribution, money ranging between $1,000 and $2,000 per person. He linked it to the revenue America is collecting from the new wave of tariffs on imported goods. That single comment created a storm of headlines claiming $2,000 checks are coming. But here's the truth. The president said they are considering it, not guaranteeing it. He used the word looking at. This means it's on the table for discussion, not something the IRS or the Treasury has officially signed off on. But the very fact that this was said publicly, and that the Treasury is already calculating the potential revenue, is a sign that something is definitely brewing. Just days after that interview, reporters asked White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt about the payments. Her response was short but important. No decisions yet out of the White House. That means the concept exists, the discussion has happened, but the green light has not been given. It's exactly where most major payment programs start: discussion, revenue review, and then, if feasible, policy drafting. So yes, the idea of $2,000 per person is real, but no, it's not approved. If you hear someone say checks are arriving next week or next month, they're either misinformed or trying to grab views. This entire idea revolves around tariff revenues, the money America collects from taxes on imported goods. According to Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, the United States could bring in roughly $300 billion per year and possibly $4 trillion over the next decade if tariffs remain at their current levels or rise further. That's a massive pool of money, but it's not all going to stimulus. Part of it would go toward paying down national debt and supporting domestic industries affected by trade changes. The president's proposal suggests carving out a portion of that, perhaps a few $100 billion, for direct rebates to Americans. Here's where things get interesting. Many people think tariffs are paid by other countries, but in reality, U.S. consumers and businesses pay much of that cost. Research from Goldman Sachs shows that roughly 55% of tariffs are absorbed by consumers through higher prices on everyday goods, from electronics to groceries. So in a way, this dividend or stimulus could actually be giving Americans back some of what they already paid in higher prices. That's why the White House refers to it as a rebate or distribution rather than a traditional stimulus. It's designed to offset the extra costs families have been carrying due to import taxes. You might remember that Senator Josh Hawley introduced something similar earlier this year, the American Worker Rebate Act of 2025. His plan proposed sending $600 to every adult and $600 per dependent child, directly funded by tariff revenue. But that bill has not passed. Still, the language and timing are interesting because it shows lawmakers are already thinking about using tariff revenue for household rebates. Now, the president's idea goes further, up to $2,000 per person, not per family. That's a major difference, and one reason this proposal has caught fire in public discussions. Even if the White House decides to move forward, there are legal questions to solve. Tariffs are currently being challenged in several courts. If certain tariff authorities are overturned or modified, the total amount of money available could shrink. And there's also the issue of appropriation. Congress would likely need to authorize how those tariff revenues are spent. Without a law, the Treasury can't just write checks. That's why we haven't seen any official IRS notice, payment timeline, or eligibility rule yet. But don't dismiss it. Many programs, like the pandemic stimulus checks, started with an identical phase: discussion, revenue projections, and then a legislative push. Let's break down the math to make sense of this. If the U.S. collects $300 billion in tariff revenue a year, and only 1/3 is set aside for rebates, that's around $100 billion available. If each American were to receive $1,000, that would cost around $260 billion, meaning the government would need to either increase tariffs further or limit who qualifies. A full $2,000 payment to every adult would cost closer to $520 billion, so expect any version of this plan to involve either income limits or a focus on working households, similar to how stimulus payments worked during 2020 and 2021. Right now, no official eligibility rules exist, but history gives us a clue. If it follows the Hawley model, it might go to tax-filing households, people with Social Security numbers or ITINs. That means retirees, Social Security recipients, and low-income workers could qualify if they filed a return or received benefits. But if it becomes a broader dividend, it might include every legal resident or citizen with a valid income record. Until a bill is introduced or an executive order is signed, we simply don't know for sure. Unfortunately, as with every major stimulus rumor, scammers are taking advantage. There are fake emails, texts, and Facebook posts claiming the $2,000 checks are ready. Let me make this clear. There is no official payment system, no IRS application, and no form to fill out. The IRS will never text or email you for personal information. If a program is ever approved, you'll see it directly on irs.gov or treasury.gov, just like the previous economic impact payments. Until then, treat every message or ad as a scam warning. We know the president has publicly discussed a $1,000 to $2,000 distribution tied to tariffs. The White House confirmed discussions, but no final decision. Tariff revenues could bring in around $300 billion per year. A similar $600 rebate bill exists in Congress. We don't know whether this will pass Congress, the exact amount or eligibility rules, or if the funds will go toward debt reduction instead of checks. That's why it's critical to rely on verified updates, not viral rumors. If you're on Social Security, SSI, or SSDI, here's the key takeaway. Do not plan your finances based on this potential payment yet. Instead, keep your bank information and direct deposit details up to date with the Social Security Administration and the IRS. If a rebate becomes law, those details will determine how fast you receive it. Also, remember, any future payment tied to tariffs will likely go through tax infrastructure, so filing a simple tax return, even if you owe nothing, may be important again, just like it was in 2020 and 2021. Here's how you'll know this is real. The White House releases an official fact sheet confirming the plan. A bill appears in Congress with funding and eligibility details. The IRS posts official guidance on rebate processing. When any of those three things happen, you'll hear it first here on Social Security Post. Until then, stay alert, stay informed, and never fall for fake links or promises. Thanks for watching. If this helped clear up confusion about the $2,000 stimulus checks, give this video a like, share it with others on Social Security, and subscribe to Social Security Post for real updates. Explained in plain English. I'll see you in the next one.